Hello and welcome to this long form video. My name is Eduard from Ray Tiling. I am here with the man himself,
Raymond
from
Ray Tiling.
We're here to talk about the whole process of working with us, from getting a quote, from starting our job, from planning the different tradies that need to come in and out throughout the job. All the little nitty-gritty details that people always ask us on every job. So we're here to get you up to speed and looking forward to working together. So, how do you what's the process for a quote? You go in, what happens?
First of all, you have to decide yourself what do you want, how much you want to spend in the bathroom, what do you want to do in the bathroom, and based on that, probably you start to look around to get quotations.
So let's say I call you for a quote, and you come over. What's your process?
The process is I come over. I can give you some options of tiling, what type of tile you could install. But once again, you can have your own imagination and you can use your own designer. I just tell you options and you can choose. And also I measure the area up, and I can tell you how much will cost, estimate the bathroom, how much will cost. And we go from there.
So is square footage the only thing you're considering? Is it per square meter, or how do you charge?
Square meter, I charge by square meter if you give me a quite large area of commercial tiling, for example. But otherwise, in the bathroom, it's quite hard to go by square meterage. I need to know what do you need, including in the tiling process. You need waterproofing, you need building a shower base, you need underheating. So all these changing the cost of the bathroom.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is based on the job and how many cuts there are, how much wastage we need to put in. Is this a difficult design, or is it maybe smaller tiles charge more than bigger tiles because they're more time consuming, right? So all of these factors will be included in a quote, and you can't really just say a standard price per meter because certain jobs take more and other jobs take less.
Exactly. Once again, about the wastage. If you have subway tiles, let's say, the wastage will be much less than comparing with a large tile, which you're going to have probably bigger offcuts, which you're not going to be able to reuse. Some of the offcuts you can reuse, but some of them... And
so these are all the things you kind of advise at the quote, and then of
course, yeah.
All right, cool. So we deliver 80% of our quotations within 24 hours. That's the kind of the standard. Sometimes there's more difficult ones where we'll have to look up things and get in contact with other suppliers and blah, blah, blah. But more or less, we try to get back to that promptly. And then what happens if the client agrees with the price and with what we've suggested? What happens then?
Probably the first thing what you need to consider, the time frame where the tiler capable to put you in, and then based on that, organize a builder who gonna rip out everything. The plumber, you need to organize a plumber who, if you going to change the shower, for example, in one corner of the bathroom, the other corner, you need a plumber.
So if there are requirements for that job, then at that point you would then organize whether or not they need to be reconstructed or whatever the case is for that specific job. I'm sure you'd advise them at the quote, right?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah, cool. And as we get closer to the start date, we contact the client in 2 or 3 days prior, just to confirm that it's all ready to go, and then hopefully we start.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. The other little nitpicking details is that usually we require access, for the van so we can move things in and out. If the job exceeds 10,000 plus GST, a 10% deposit is required. And the other question we get a lot is how long will the job take, right? So what would you say?
Yeah, once again, depends if you want underheating, that's 1 or 2 days with the self-leveling, 2 days for the underheating, another 2 days for the waterproofing to dry. And once again, it's important to know what the job is. If you have only bathroom walls, then could be in 1.5 day could be done.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get into the specifics of what you need, when you need it, what type of job, etc. But yeah, it will vary, right? Like sometimes you need drying times between coats of waterproofing. Sometimes you need like, flood tests and all this other stuff that will take more time. But obviously within the process of quoting and working for scheduling the dates and stuff, we will advise, a rough estimate of the time and all that kind of stuff. So that should be all good. All right, so let's assume we have a bathroom that we need to retile. And what's the process? So we have an existing bathroom. It's got tiles that we're not happy with. Maybe it's leaking, let's say, whatever. And we need to redo the whole thing. What's the step-by-step process?
So the step-by-step process is you get the tradies along, including tiler, electrician, plumber. You just invite them along, give me a quotation for the job. This is the job. I want to renew my bathroom. I want, for example, if you discuss with the tiler, I want 600 by 600 glossy on the walls, 600 by 600 matte finish on the floor. And at the moment, this shower base is leaking. What do you want? We want acrylic shower base, flash plastic, or you want tiled shower base. So that means I will build a shower base, leave it to dry, waterproof it twice.
Right. So number one, you get everyone that would be involved in the project and ask them what they need, right?
Yes.
And sort of make a step-by-step, okay, the electrician needs to sort out his stuff first, then the plumber needs to come in and change the faucet or change the whatever he needs to do.
Yes.
And then the tiler, I assume, would be the last guy in the process because he's sort of a finishing.
Yes. Probably after the tiler, you have to get the plumber back in to install all the...
Okay, so we'll get there. Okay, so let's say the plumber is happy with what he did and how the tiler required. Everything's done. The tiler comes in. What's the step by step? So we have existing tiles, and what do we do?
We are removing the existing tiles. We rip it all out, and
can you reuse those tiles?
Of course not.
Yeah,
yeah. Sometime clients are thinking maybe I can reuse some of them and we're saving money, but the time, even if it would be able to pull them up in one piece, the time necessary to clean them, it's not worth the time. It's better buy new ones, and
you end up spending more for the labor than you would for buying the new tiles.
Yes.
And most of the time, if the job's even half well done, right? If they didn't do a complete, crap job, you're not going to remove those tiles without breaking them or chipping them. So realistically speaking, when we come in to break the tiles up, we're using a jackhammer that's going to rip up everything. We might need to request that, we could put it in as well, but we sometimes would request okay, this jib needs to be completely changed. Easier to rip the jib off than to try to So pretty much treat it as a demolition job. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be dusty. We do our best to try to tape the doors and tape the windows and everything so that we can not put dust everywhere in the house. But at the end of the day, that's just the process you got to go through.
Yeah, we as a company, we prefer to have these demolition jobs done by the builder or somebody else. But sometimes the client wants the tiler to do pretty much to don't deal with too many tradies. So if he's happy to pay us as we putting tiles, because of course our charge for the demolition will be more costly than
another potential tradie. So that makes sense. Okay, so let's say we've removed all of the tiles, and let's just assume we've ground the glue, for example.
Yeah, it's a concrete floor or wooden floor.
So that is my question. So let's assume it's a wooden floor. What would we need to do?
So we rip everything out. Obvious, whatever rubbish we make from that bathroom, we're taking the rubbish away. But the next step would be installing tile underlay, which is I advise to do it all the time, even if some cases clients don't want to go high on the level of the tile underlay plus the tile, and gonna go probably the level of the floor level of the bathroom gonna be higher than the hallway, let's say.
Right.
And some client prefer to have it level with the floorway, and then they decide they don't want tile underlay. But then it's different process, different primer issues.
Yeah.
I suggest and I advise always use tile underlay.
And there are ways to finish that height of the change in height. You know, there's things you can do to make it seamless with the carpet in the
Yes.
hallway or whatever. There's other things we can do. It won't look bad. But as far as longevity, right, underlay is 100% going
And
to
we don't
help
have to
with that.
forget many times the grout lines, when you see grout lines cracking, is because of the movement of the bathroom floor. And that tile underlay kind of resolve 50% of the issue.
Right, because you're decoupling from the initial substrate, which is the wood, right? You're decoupling and creating a new layer,
Yes.
which is a little bit flexible. So the movement is
Yes.
going to be muted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get into details what sort of glue you use in those areas when it's a little bit flexy, or all sorts of, like what type of grout. But we are in the process to installing tile underlay.
Yeah.
And then we install the tiles. Let's say
Okay.
600 by 600.
And what about in wet, like so in a bathroom floor, in wet areas, right, where we'd
Yes.
require waterproofing?
True. Yeah.
What's the process for that?
The waterproofing process is, first of all, is a proper priming the area. So you want to get rid of all the dust and make the area clean as possible. So the priming is essential. After priming, you tape it up, Bhutanite tape, and you can tape it up all the corners, wherever.
So there's
you
a
think-
specific type of waterproofing product that we'd use to tape up any sort of edge, where let's say two tile underlay sheets are combining like this. Obviously, that's where water could easily go through. Corners, edges in the shower, every corner, every edge, everywhere where there could be essentially a leak risk.
Yes.
We use a specific type of product that will essentially join those two corners together.
And
then-
on top of that, it's coming the first coat of waterproofing, which
Okay.
is water-based waterproofing. You like paint it on, brush it on, and all that. And then, very important, you leave it to dry at least 12 hours a day. Even if the product says in 6 hours, on the bucket says in 4 to 6 hours is dry time, it's better to leave it at least 12
And
hours.
most of the time it's like 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
a full day usually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, and also depending on humidity and stuff, there's a variation of time.
True.
But
If you
giving
use-
that time for it to set is huge.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Depends, like you said, if you have air ventilation and all that, it's gonna dry much more faster than if everything is shut and closed area.
And damp and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so then first coat of waterproofing, and then what?
And then you come back in 24 hours and do the second coat of waterproofing. And then once again, leave it to dry properly. And then only the third day, supposed to start the tiling.
And if it's a crucial area, you might do a flood test if you're really worried about the.
You have to do the flood test. If you have a shower base, let's say you just waterproof the new shower base, ideally you do the flood test. And yeah,
As long as that doesn't fail. So the flood test is you're filling up that area with water.
yes,
And
you
then
have
observing-
like a plug, which you put it in the waste.
Okay, and then observing if that water level drops.
Yes.
And if it doesn't drop, within how much time?
If it drops, that's a bad sign.
Yeah.
And should drop in a good hour, let's say.
What do you mean should drop?
If the shower base failed, that means somewhere is leaking.
Ah, yes, yes.
And
So within an hour, you'd be able to tell if it's leaking
Yes.
or not leaking. Okay,
Yes.
I see. Okay, and then I assume you take the plug out, re-dry the area, and then the waterproofing is done.
yes,
Okay. And after the waterproofing, what's next?
tiling.
Okay, so
Tiling, I prefer tiling the floor first, floor, shower base, floor first, and then the walls.
And at that point, you would probably talk to the client about the orientation of the tiles, where they want the grout line, maybe, right? Like
yeah,
if
I
they want-
usually make my my own plan, and then I call the client over and I will explain to them what my plan is, and if they are not happy with my plan, then we change the plan. But usually, I put in consideration all the joints to run from the floor on the wall and
Yeah.
all sorts
So
of stuff.
typically, unless the client has a very, very specific idea of what they want, it will pretty much be the right decision.
Yes.
And cool. So, all right. So then we start with the floor. We glue down everything. How long is the floor, like once you do the floor, how long does that take to dry?
Floor, we can, if I know I want to work in the same day in that bathroom on the walls, then I can use fast setting glue. So depends of if I'm not rushing, I know I'm going to be all day on this floor and I only have to come back tomorrow, then I use normal glue.
Mm-hmm.
But then usually I do the floor and continue the bathroom walls on the next day.
Now with tiling, there's often these very specific things that you put in between the tiles and these clicky things. What are those?
Those are self-leveling spacers, which are helping leveling the top part of the tile. So you're not gonna have one tile higher than other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
So it's basically a way to mechanically adjust the levels of the tiles. Normally, before this product was a thing, or I mean, they've been around for a long time, but like the way to do it manually would be to level everyone and make sure that you put the level on it and see if it
Yes.
matches and feel each corner. Whereas this sort of creates one solid piece of tile once you've pressed everything, and it's pretty solid. And until it dries, it maintains that position. And if
Yes.
someone steps on it or something, there's a lower chance that they will misalign.
Yeah. In 1999, 2000, when I haven't heard about those products, probably was around, I don't know, but in that time I was doing just by eye. And every corner of the 4 tiles I had to line up with my hands and make sure it's level. So it's a slower process of tiling, but still doable without those ones, yes.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And then I assume once that's dry, you break off the
Wedges,
tops of the
yes.
wedges, and then you have a solid floor
to
that's
work
ready
on.
to go. Yeah,
Yes.
ready to grout and whatever. Okay, so let's say we've done the floor, shower, same process, or is it a different process?
The bottom of the shower, I do it in the same day with the floor.
Okay,
So it's
so if
part
you-
of the floor.
If you need to build the bottom of the shower yourself,
I do that before the waterproofing.
okay. So the waterproof. Okay.
So I did that right after you install the tile underlay. I build a shower base, you call it.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy also custom made shower tray, and you just glue it on and waterproof it and tile it over. But I most of the time I build my own.
Okay. So what's the difference between a walk-in shower and a nib-based shower? Raised nib.
The walking shower, the floor from the shower is the same level with the floor of the bathroom.
Okay.
The only thing is the entrance of the shower, you actually have a fall. So the waist of the shower should be lower than the floor level.
So does that mean that for a walk-in shower, to create that fall, you need both the plumber and the builder to make changes in the level of the floor?
Before I start any waterproofing, any tile underlay, so that's the first thing. And the shower with the nib, it's actually raised up nib to stop the water coming out of the shower.
So that one's probably a bit easier, but you have to make that yourself?
Easier.
As in, on the client, he doesn't need to bring in a builder, doesn't need to bring in a plumber.
In some cases, the plumbing cannot be done to lower 40 millimeter or 30 millimeter, how much is necessary, cannot be done because of the substrate and because of the studs, what's underneath. So then what you can do is just build a shower nib, yes.
Okay, I see. What type of channel can they use in showers?
It's many type of the channels in the market. Yeah, I've seen channels from one side of the shower to the other side, so the whole side of the wall. You can use that one if you like. You can use 900 millimeter ones.
Is there a difference, or it's just aesthetics, or
No, it's just aesthetics. Yeah, some of them you have. You can actually build into them, build tiles in them, so it's more aesthetic. You can see just a line where the water is going.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very aesthetic. It's nice.
So all right, so you've done the floor and the shower base tiled. If that requires tiling, if it's a
Yes.
custom made one, then you just leave it alone.
Yes.
And then what? Do the walls or what?
Once again, before to start the walls, you had to have a plan even before starting the floor, because now you see the joints from the floor have to run up on the walls as
So
well.
you try to match what's happening on the floor to the walls, so it looks
exactly.
continuous.
So, look continuous. You don't want small cuts around, like full tile, and the last tile only 30 centimeter,
30 millimeter.
30 millimeter,
Yeah.
even 30 centimeters. How much is
All right, so you've put in the tiles on the wall, you've put in the tiles on the floor. It's all dry. You've given
All dry,
given
yes.
it maybe another day to dry or whatever. If it's fast setting, maybe less, but let's assume. What's the process then?
The process is the next process is the grouting. Grouting, you have pretty much two options.
So you first will clean the joints
Of
of
course.
glue, so it's all clean,
Of
and then
course.
you start the grout. Okay.
Yeah, and your choice of grout colors also, we can show you some colors and you just choose the color. It's not actually, most of the time you can even blend it in to the tile color, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
You can essentially either make the joint look like the tile color. You can have a contrast
or
if
you
that's
can
what
have
you're
a
looking
contrast,
for.
Yes,
Or but at that point it's just aesthetics, right?
yes.
What about the different types of grout?
Different type of grout you can use in the shower, which I recommend to use. It's epoxy grout, it's called, and it's mold resistant, so it's easier to scrub off all the extra residue you have it on over time. In the shower, usually you're gonna have most of it. If you don't have enough ventilation and stuff, over time you're gonna have, and it's just easier to clean. The sand-based grout, it's nice. It's more options of the colors, and sand-based is sand-based. It's
So the difference between the two is that epoxy dries very, very hard, almost like a cement. It's like once you put it in, it's super, super difficult to take it back out. If people want to re-grout, for example, and you have epoxy grout, it's going to be a lot more expensive than re-grouting sand-based because it's crazy hard. But that also means that if, as you say, if there's mold, it's easier to scrub. Sometimes when you're scrubbing on sand-based, like it slightly takes the sand-based out. Like it's a little bit
Exactly.
softer, right? It's a bit more sandy.
Yes.
There's also the idea that like the epoxy is slightly more water resistant, or it's not waterproof. It's not waterproofing. It won't stop water.
It's not a waterproofing, but put in consideration, we're using it in swimming pools, so there is.
It just lets less water through because
Yes.
it's less porous. It's got less holes inside
Yes.
if you look at it deeply, right? So sand-based. Why would you use sand-based instead of epoxy?
Because it's cheaper, more affordable, and plus more options in colors.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
that's-
aesthetically,
but
it's probably
for a kitchen splashback or for a area when you're not using water, and
it's all good.
sand-based grout is good.
Okay, so then how do you put the grout in? What do you do?
Yeah, it comes in powder in like a bag,
Mhm.
5 kg bag, and just mix it with water. I like to add a little bit of Prime Bond as well, primer, which helps to the mold resistant
Mhm.
practically. Yeah,
Cool. And then what? You have this sort of mixture and you
mixture
push it
is,
into the joints?
push it into the
and
joints.
then
You have
wash
a
the
rubber
off.
trowel, yes, and
Yeah.
you push it into the joints, and then you wash
And
it
then,
off.
so now we've put the grout in and washed it off and it's dry.
Yes.
Is there anything else to the process?
Yeah, we go the next day, leave it to dry, and the next day we go back and apply silicone, the same color of the grout. I apply the same color of silicone
Mm-hmm.
in every joint. most of it in the shower. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And is that silicon? Is there any upkeep with that? Is there any like long-term maintenance?
Once again, apparently the silicone it's mold resistant. Some of them is like acid-based silicone are more resistant to the mold. But the thing is, over time, if you don't have enough airflow in the bathroom, over time I've seen even those silicone moldy. So, but it's not an issue to replace the silicone in 3-4 years. Just cut it off with a Stanley knife and re-silicone the whole bathroom is not a problem.
So I think that's a pretty good rundown of a typical bathroom. How long would you say, like on average, one of these bathrooms would take? Just an average number. Obviously, it could be more, could be less.
Average a good 5 to 7 days.
Cool. All right. So that's just for the clients to understand, have an understanding on their schedule. Like we might need this bathroom sort of occupied for the next 5 to 7 days.
Yes.
All right. So talking just in general about floors, less so about necessarily bathrooms, but is there any time when there's like a different requirement for the process?
Yeah. Some cases you have a large area of floor. You need to be self-leveled or even sometimes created, depends of the situation.
So if the floor is uneven and it's just not in a straight line, right, you'll struggle to put the tiles down in an even fashion. So then we would use a self-leveling compound.
Self-leveling compound, which we do as well, and we can self-level the floor.
And that's also sort of a powder mix that you sort of pour out.
Exactly.
And then it will just level out, and then once it hardens, you can tile over that. Is that how it goes?
Yes.
Okay. And what about screeding? When is that necessary?
Screeding, when you have to do, practically you have to do like a fall. For example, you have a outside deck or whatever, and you have to do a fall for the water to
run down. Okay.
Yes. Then the self-leveling, you cannot do it with that. So
self-leveling will just make it straight and not
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have to screed it at that time.
And what about underfloor heating? I know some people do it in bathrooms. Some people do it in even hallways and stuff. What do you require for that? What's the process?
The process for that is for me to go out there to measure up and to see exactly the area of the floor, because depends of the area of the floor you buy the underheating product. So they come in different sizes, and if you buy too long, you're gonna have extra wire. You cannot.
You can't cut it.
You can't cut it. So that's what I'm saying. I need to know exactly the floor area, and then I know and get the right elements, you call it, and install it. After that, you need to do a self-leveling compound just to protect it. It's just safer for the elements.
So you would what? You would run the underfloor heating in the way it's meant to sit on the floor.
Exactly.
And maybe tape it down or glue it down or whatever. Yeah.
Both. Yes.
Okay. And after it's set, then we would do a self-leveling compound, essentially to like lock it inside a layer of cement. You could argue it's some level of cement. And then you have a proper floor that's not actually in contact with with the underfloor heating that you could walk on and not damage the underfloor heating. And then you can tile on top of that. If you need a waterproof, you can waterproof, right?
Yes.
And all that kind of stuff. So,
exactly.
So the waterproofing, if that is the requirement, let's say in a bathroom, would be on top of the self-leveling.
Yeah, the waterproofing should be on top of everything, but below the glue.
Okay.
Below the
glue of the tiles. Yeah, that makes sense.
Tiles, yes.
And then, so let's say we've installed the underfloor heating. How does that then become connected to the device where you can...
What I do, usually, I pull the wire through the wall up to the...
So you might need to open the wall up?
But sometimes I have the chance to do it because there is an existing power outlet. How should I say?
Power outlet, yeah.
Power outlet. And then I run a wire down and I pull all these elements up. But then electrician has to connect it.
So after the whole job is finished, then the client would need to call an electrician, and the electrician would come and make sure it's connected.
For them is very easy, 5-minute job, yes.
Okay, cool. So repairs. What about leaking showers?
Yeah, ideally, a leaking shower need to rip it out and redo the waterproofing and fix it. But in some cases, the client doesn't want to pay and they're willing to give a try to fix it and stop the leak. And we can do that. Most of the time, when we're doing repairs like that, we manage to stop the leak, yes.
But you can't give any warranty on that.
No.
And it's not really recommended, right?
Exactly.
Especially if you're on a second story, you're worried about something downstairs or whatever. Realistically speaking, you want to rip that up and re-waterproof it. But sometimes you can figure out where it's coming from, rip up that specific tile, just waterproof a very small area that we think where the leak is coming from, replace the tile and see if it stops the leak. But again, it's not really a thing that you would recommend. It's just like sometimes it can be done. What about like spot fixing just tiles, replacing tiles that are broken or something in a non-waterproof area?
Yeah, that's doable. It's very easy to replace. If you have the same tile, we just go and in half an hour, 1 hour, we replace it, yeah.
Yeah, and if it's not exactly the same...
If it's not exactly the same, you're expecting a slight difference. Once again,
good.
we replace them, yes.
Yeah, cool. We can do that. So you were talking earlier about silicon needing to be changed every few years or whatever. Is that an easy process or?
Yeah, it's easy. You just remove the silicone by knife, scratch them out, cut them out, and then re-silicone. It's easy process, yes.
Now, in terms of regrouting, can you talk about regrouting sand-based grouts versus epoxy grouts?
Yeah, this process is quite challenging, quite dirty, and quite time-consuming process. You have to remove the existing grout lines. If it's sand-based, it's easier because it's porous, so it's breaking up easier than epoxy grout. But the epoxy grout, you have to cut it out, and if you have waterproofing underneath, let's say, you have to be very careful to not damage the waterproofing. So it's doable, but as I said, it's time consuming, so it's costly most of the time. Yeah.
And usually, if with epoxy, how do you take out the grout?
We cut it with the multi-tool or the grinder with a special blade, which doesn't allow to go too deep. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what are some common problems that can go like wrong with jobs or create delays or just issues that can crop up?
The first thing what is popping in my mind is the client doesn't buy enough tiles. But usually I advise the client to buy the amount of tile I needed. So usually we have that ticked out. But if we have builders or plumbers delaying the job, then I cannot start. So that would be another problem.
Sometimes those builders or plumbers are scheduled and we go there and we need to work on the floor or something and they're working, so we cannot, there's no way we could put in the floor when there's a electrician standing on it.
Yeah. Or other type of issue what I can think of, for example, we start the tiling job, we're doing the floor, and the next day when we come in to start on the wall, we have the painter sanding the ceiling. So all that dust is going on my floor lines. And it's not going to be good
or it's the grouting day. Yes. This has happened. This has happened.
Yeah,
where it's the day to grout, and the painters are sanding, and they're getting sand. They're getting dust all in our grout, and we have to kick them out.
Changing the plan. The client, for example, let's say you decide in the beginning of the job you're gonna have a center of waste in the shower, but
halfway through
you actually change your mind and you want a channel in the shower, so then requires redoing the bottom of the shower. So
and if that was waterproofed and we need to pull it out, now you have to redo the waterproofing to do it legit.
It's doable, but it's costly. The only problem is
so really having a good understanding of what you want and how you want it to look, and nailing that prior to the beginning of the project is crucial. Planning it out, because otherwise it's going to be a lot more costly, and the processes, you can't just remove a tile on a waterproofed surface without potentially damaging the waterproofing. And so in order to be 100% sure that waterproofing won't fail, you'll have to redo the waterproofing to then redo the tiling, you know? So it's really you really got to make sure you know what you want. How do people choose the right type of tiles? Let's say for a bathroom versus a splashback versus this, you know, depending on the job they want to do.
Yeah, it's not right type of bad type of tiles. It's how you depends of your preference. What do you want, and as a design, how you prefer the bathroom to look. But I would say porcelain tile or very quality porcelain tile. It's always looks smarter than.
And what about durability? Like if you're having a floor area with lots of foot traffic, is there a type of tile that's better than other ones?
Same again.
Porcelain.
Yes.
Okay. But for splashback, you could go with a ceramic.
You can go mosaic, you can go glass, you can go all sorts of stuff. On the wall doesn't really matter.
As long as you like the look.
Yes.
Is there any maintenance and care once the job's finished that is good to know for a client?
If you don't want the mold to accumulate in your shower in the bathroom, you have to make sure you open window, you start up the fan in the bathroom or stuff like that. You don't just
create airflow.
And even when you're planning the bathroom, just plan an extra fan in that bathroom because it's worth it.
What warranty or guarantees can our clients expect on our jobs?
Ray Tiling give 10-year warranty for our jobs, but when we do a job, we're going in the mentality of a lifetime.
So you try to make it last as long as possible. We don't cheap out on materials and stuff like that.
That's why.
So if someone calls us back and there's a repair that it's needed, well, it's just the same process again. We look at it, try to figure out what's needed, whether it's a replacement or redo the whole thing or whatever, and it's all taken care of, assuming that it failed from our end, right?
Yeah, it didn't happen yet. We are grateful for that. But once again, it's important to use the right materials as well, because if you try to save some money,
cut corners,
and you get the cheap materials, to be honest with you, this is how you recognize a good tiler who are not taking shortcuts and using the right material for the job. You can go lower on the price, but use the 2-year warranty. Glue.
Does outdoor tile installation differ from inside, or is it similar process, or are there any differences?
Yes, differences are outdoor has to be matte finish, not glossy. Outdoor, because of the rain, because of the water, might be slippery, so it's danger to get injured and stuff. And also the glue. The glue must be cement-based, not rubber-based. Rubber-based, you can use it indoor, where there's no water and where it's flexible, where it's movement and all that. Outdoor, that's the difference.
But as far as process, it's all the same, pretty much. Yeah. Making sure that the substrate is straight and all that kind of stuff. Same thing.
Same priming, same process. Yeah.